I encourage people to do that during non-problem times,
Yes,
non-stress
so
times.
helpful.
Not when you're in the middle of an argument, but afterward to go, oh, that didn't go so well. Can we go out to dinner? Can we go out and talk about this and leave the stress at home? Often changing the environment is a good thing to do, to go to dinner or something.
Yeah.
Go for a walk. Also, it's really a good technique that if you think that some emotion might rise, go to a public place where you can have some privacy, but you're not going to yell at each other.
Escalate.
Right. There are people out. Right.
Yes.
It's a really good technique.
Maybe the
That's true.
library.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, the library.
Yes. I know that story.
Where you're not allowed to talk. Yeah. Welcome to Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage. I'm Dr. Greg Smalley.
And I'm Erin Smalley. On last week's episode, we talked about communication strategies for couples when one spouse is on the autism spectrum. It was such a great discussion and one that you guys really responded to.
Yeah, so check it out. If you haven't heard that one, make sure you listen to it. Good information.
Absolutely.
That really applied to all of us.
Yes. Today, we're going to continue along the same theme of understanding one another and our differences and how our brains work as male and female, because we were intentionally created completely different from each other.
Yeah,
that
that's a
we are
shocker.
just so different. And of course, this is where often conflict and misunderstandings can begin.
Yeah, because part of it is the problem is when we get frustrated with each other and frustrated around the differences, we start to see the differences themselves as the problem. And even within our culture, divorce can be framed as we're divorcing because of irreconcilable differences. And I think it's fair to say, no, that's never going to be the case. The differences are never the problem.
Right.
How we choose to manage
Yes.
those differences, what we do with those differences. Do we allow those differences in how we perceive them to become so negative that anytime we bump into those differences, it just takes us to a really bad place, a bad argument, to where we end up shutting down. I mean, it's never the differences that are the problem. It's just how we manage them. So part of what I love about today's program is we're going to talk about how do we manage differences, especially those brain differences. Like I was thinking about how you and I, we're so different. Our brains are very different.
Really? Our brains are different?
Yeah. I don't know what the brain differences might be between us in this particular area.
Let's talk about our IQ differences.
Oh.
Who do you think has a higher IQ?
Well, I know that my IQ is very, very high. So, because I married you. That's the evidence of my high IQ.
Right.
Beat that one,
Okay.
Erin.
Yeah.
So not only are we different probably IQ-wise, but even something as simple as just the cleanly difference. I don't know how that's a brain difference, but I'm sure there's reasons why. Like for me,
are you going to say I'm actually the more organized and clean one?
Like that you are?
Yes.
I wouldn't, because I like to be honest with our audience, unlike some people, that it's hard for me. There's something that overwhelms my brain. It's like my brain gets fried.
Overload.
Yeah.
Well, mine does too, but not at the same place that yours does. Mine, it takes a little bit longer. I have more tolerance of the chaos.
Well, you create piles.
Yes,
and things
but even my piles, I need to eventually clean them up. Like I know right now today that as soon as I take my comprehensive exam for my doctorate, then I have a couple weeks to where I am going to gut all the piles.
Oh, praise the Lord.
Because I can't wait. They're bothering me. I can feel it. Like they're
Prayer
haunting me.
Works,
they're waking me up at night and telling me, clean me.
And a lot of times you can ignore those little voices, it sounds like. At the same time, we've had to learn how do we allow there to be room, even if it's a messy room. How do we allow room for both of us in our marriage? And I know for me, we finally got to a place to where I was able to say, I don't care about the rest of the house, but as long as there's this main area around our kitchen, we've got this big island, as long as that can be relatively clean and tidy, that helps me.
Yes.
So regardless of then what our bedroom looks like or your office looks like,
Or
I can
the
live
closet.
with that.
Yes.
So we've figured out sort of a win-win. in
Yeah,
this.
but I can't think of anyone I'd rather talk to about the differences in the male and female brain than our guest today. Dr. Joanie DeBrito is a counselor on staff at Focus on the Family. She has over 30 years of experience as a family life educator, social worker, and licensed mental health professional.
She's done such a wonderful job really working with couples in our aftercare work for couples who go through Hope Restored, our marriage intensive program. So we know that this conversation is going to bring some great clarity to the way you communicate with and really understand your spouse. And I love the question that you asked her to begin this interview.
I'm certain, Dr. Joanie, that you have seen how these differences impact marriage, especially while you're working with a couple or visiting with a couple. You notice how these differences show up. What do you typically see?
Well, it's so interesting. I was so excited to talk about this because so many times in my career as a marriage and family therapist, couples have come and they have these vague concerns. So it's not an addiction or an affair or other things that people may come to a therapist for. They'll say, we're just not connected. We're just not getting along and so forth. And as I listen to them, I hear these people are completely different in terms of the way that their brains are wired, the way they think, and the way they interact with the world. And it's so amazing that when I can share that with a couple and say, I think I know what's going on here, they're like, really?
Tell us.
Really? We can get better? And I'll say, oh, yeah. And not only can you get better, but you can take the very thing that has divided you and use it to your advantage to make your marriage stronger.
So good.
Because
I'm sure.
maybe take us back even to the beginning, almost like let's talk about an origin story of the differences between men and women in our brains. Because really, right, all these differences really started in the womb.
There's no question that we see differences in men's and women's brains. And from the time that children are very small, parents will recognize differences in their boy brains and their little girl brains and so forth.
Yeah.
And even just the way that little boys interact the world and little girls interact with the world. You see the boys, they're exploring with their hands and their fingers, and they come into a room and they run into things and so forth. And little girls go up and pat people on the back and start chatting and talking. Even before they're verbal, they start making more noises and so forth. So there's no question that there's a difference that is there from the very beginning.
Yeah, and the way God really designed it. And
Absolutely.
we can see those differences forming there. So as you're working with a couple then, and we're all different. They're not recognizing perhaps that some of the conflict or the frustration really stems from the differences. What are some of the big differences that you like to help kind of unpack for couples?
Well, one is that sometimes there are very striking intellectual differences. Sometimes you have someone that is very, 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 maybe even almost genius level IQ, living with someone who is an average IQ.
I mean, that's kind of true for our marriage.
We won't say which one is the genius and which one is average.
We'll let you vote.
But I think we know who that is.
Oh, we do.
And so very often what happens for the person who is very bright and very quick to get information and so forth, they get frustrated with their spouse for not being able to keep up, and the person who's trying to keep up gets overwhelmed. The other one that I notice is processing differences all the time. So processing speeds that are different, and it's really important to say there are some people that process very quickly and some people that process slowly, and slowly does not mean intellectually slow. It usually means the person who's processing slowly is just thinking about every little possibility of what their spouse just said, and they have a very creative brain. That would describe me and my husband. So I can be talking And I will say something, and I can tell I just lost him, and he's thinking about everything I just said, and he's processing it and so forth. And I used to get so frustrated. Now, no surprise to you guys who are experts in the world of working with couples. It was the very thing that attracted me the most to him,
Right.
about him when we first met, because I thought, oh, he's so creative. He's so good at thinking through everything through. And then when it comes to, we need to make a decision now.
Yeah, it's a little
Then
frustrating.
it's frustrating, right? So there's that. I would also say that very often you'll have couples where one is extremely fact-based, data-based, logical, very often non-emotional. They don't show their emotions, and someone who's very emotional. So it's like the head person meets the heart person, and all
would
of
be
this
us.
contract ensues.
I am all about the heart.
You have learned to be about the heart.
Right, because then they're mismatched, and so they're trying to talk through something, and I'm just wanting the facts. Erin, just give me the detail. What information do I need to know here?
Yes,
Versus
yes.
she's wanting to really explore.
But how do you feel about it?
Right.
Yes.
And so we get so mismatched, and then it's
Yes.
frustrating because I'm not necessarily valuing exploring all these emotions, and Erin is wanting to do that. That's important to her. And so I've just noticed that can be a part of our frustration, which is why often I'll say, "Hey, so what are you wanting? Like, what's the goal right now?"
Yeah.
And then she'll say, "I just want to, explore. I just want to
just
share
wanna
some
emote."
emotions."
Yes.
Or sometimes she'll say, I need to talk this through with you to solve it.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I've died and gone to heaven, basically.
And that is huge, that you've got men who naturally tend to gravitate more toward fixing things and women who want to vent.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to tell my husband before we were going to have a conversation, okay, I need to talk to you about something important, but actually I don't need any solutions. I've already figured it out in my brain, but I just need to tell you. I just need someone to hear what happened, and it felt really awful, or it felt really good, or what have you.
Without the solution.
Exactly.
to fix, yeah.
Exactly. Because when he would jump to give a solution, and I'd only be, as you were saying, you're talking along, I'd only be a quarter of the way through the story, and he'd, well, here's what you need to do. And I'm like,
Right.
no,
That
I
never
just want you to
happens
hear
here.
what I have to say.
Just listen.
Yes.
So how do you encourage couples when you're working with them to really take time to empathize or to understand their spouse's perspective, because it's different than theirs?
Well, first I start with the question, do you remember when you first met, and do you think this might have been something that you previously admired your spouse? And almost always they say yes.
Yeah.
So let's go back to, what was it about that quality in your spouse that you admired? And what has happened since then? Well, life got in the way. You had children. Again, if it's decision making and there really is a decision to be made and the other person is off thinking, oh, we could do this, we could do that, then that can be frustrating. So you try to recapture the initial attraction and then start talking about, this is also an opportunity for each one of us to learn how to improve the part of us that is not like our spouse, but could be more like our spouse. So I've learned to be more of a possibility thinker from my husband, and he has learned to be more logical. And I've learned to be more, hey, do you want a solution now? Okay, I've got an idea for you. And he's learned to say to me, that must be really hard, or that sounds really cool, or what have you. So it's trying to recapture what you had to begin with and then learn what is the strength of that kind of thinking on the part of your spouse, and how could you use it to the benefit of your marriage, but also how could you become more balanced? Because both perspectives together are a very balanced way of thinking.
Yeah. And I
so
like
good.
that for that difference where, one is their brain is more emotional, their brain is more logical, and I love the empathy you guys are talking about. I know there are lots of other differences. as Erin and I were talking, as I was thinking through kind of what we were going to talk about, I was trying to think, what are some of those big brain differences that frustrate me? And one of the ones that hit me is, I know that the female brain with more connectors allows women, and again, this is not true for every woman, but for a lot, just to multitask much easier, much better. For me, that is very overwhelming. Like there's just, just to watch Erin and how she can multitask, or when we're talking, how she can skip from topic to topic in her mind, right, Erin? It's all makes sense and it's all related and connected. And I literally want to ball up in a fetal position because I'm like, we gotta talk about this one thing. Yes. So do you see that a lot with the couples you work with, just that particular difference, the multitasking difference? And how do you help that couple kind of manage that one?
There's no question. Every once in a while, I'll meet a man where the man is a multitasker and the woman isn't, but probably 90% of the time, the woman is the multitasker, and it's very frustrating for the man and frustrating for the woman, because it's like, we talked about this yesterday. This is where it comes up the next day. We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah.
Don't you remember?
I'm like, I remember one thing you talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember one thing. What was after that, or was before that? It was before I talked about this and after I talked about that. And
this is very triggering, by the way, to talk about this.
I'll give you some therapy after.
Thank you for free.
I think part of what you mentioned there, too, is really important, though. Because of the way our brains are wired, we interact with the world in a different way. So because women have more ability to communicate in better ways and men have more of an ability to strongly concentrate, we interact with the world that way. So again, boys growing up, they will concentrate and focus on things and maybe get tasks done and fix things and so forth. And women, they will be communicating with 5 different friends at the same time, because that's the way they're wired. And so that helps them learn. It teaches those connections in their brain to multitask, where men don't learn how to do that.
Yeah.
So in terms of helping couples, it is helpful for them to know that our brains are wired differently. And this isn't just your husband or wife trying to annoy you, because that's I've told him before, don't do this.
Take it personally.
Yes, exactly.
So don't personalize it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't personalize it, but also just there again to recognize it's probably something that's very inherent for that person. And so it's not that they're trying to be annoying, but you might want to think about that when you talk. So you might want to say things like, this is something that I do with my husband that I've done for years, because I realized he couldn't multitask. So I'd say, I bet it would be a really good idea if we wrote this down. So we'd write down a list of things that were all things that I could talk to my girlfriends about it, and they'd get all of them, and they'd all be done, the next day or whatever. But with my husband, it's like, okay. And then he's got that very, focused brain. It's like, check.
Got it.
I did it. Oh, honey, I don't understand. Can you tell me more about this? Check. And so writing things down and so
way
forth.
to do that.
It is a practical way.
I know for me that I've had to learn and be okay with, because I'm a people pleaser, just my personality, just, I want Erin, I was going to say I want her to be happy, but I hate that as a goal anyway. But
you want to please me.
Yes. But I do have to then at times break in to the conversation to say, is there any way we can just go back and focus on this one and help me understand what's going on, or if we need to fix this or solve this, what do we need? So there are times that I redirect her. So I guess my question is that okay? Is that a decent strategy? I mean, because I like your writing things down. It's hard for me to skip topics.
Sure. I think it's
maybe this is me.
I think it's a great strategy. And another one is I think that every couple needs to come up with a way that is acceptable to both of them to say, stop, time out. This is a really interesting one, because I've noticed that the very thing that a wife may do to say stop, maybe she does this or stop or what have you, can be very offensive to a husband and vice versa. So I always want my couples to figure out, how do I say stop, I'm a little overwhelmed to you in a way that you can hear it. And then the wife to say, how do I say it? So when I'm working with
strategy. Yeah, I
hope
love
restored couples, I will often say one of the first things I want you to do is figure out before you have a heart talk. This is something that Greg and Erin know about a lot, and I know about a program that we have at Focus on the Family for couples who are struggling, and it's an intensive marriage program.
Yeah.
And one of the tools is a heart talk, and I'll say, you need to learn when you're doing it what's an acceptable way to both of you to say, you know what, we're going down that road, we're starting to disintegrate, we need a break. And I've had couples say, we made a stop sign and put up a stop sign. Hey, if it works for the couple. So that's another thing that's really good to learn. And it could be good for you. Like maybe you are telling her to stop, or she's overwhelmed or whatever. And maybe she's not able to hear it because she needs to hear it in a different way.
Right,
Yeah, that's
right.
great.
What about during high stress? Men and women respond differently or react differently to high stress. How do you help couples understand those differences?
You know, I think the place where I see that the most is in the area of grief, where there's a loss. And no question here, very often the man jumps into the, what do we need to do? Let's say a loss of a family member. What needs to be done? What are the things that need to be done? And the woman just wants to grieve and cry and feel. And we have to have patience with one another and allow one another to get through those times in crisis the way that makes sense to each person, and resist the urge to judge. So the woman who is grieving and sees her husband going through a list of, we need to contact a funeral home and so forth, wants to say, don't you care?
Right.
Don't you care that we lost a child? You don't even care. I haven't even seen you cry. I haven't seen any grief from you. You're just, this is all you care about.
Right.
And the man is saying, well, are you going to just cry for the rest of your life? Is this ever going to stop? You've been crying for 3 days. We need to get things
That's
done.
always very helpful to say.
Yeah.
And the thing is, both are true. Both things are true. The grieving of the emotions is true, and the dealing with the reality of how do we get through this crisis?
Right.
What things do we need to do to get things
I love
better?
that.
I know. And I learned from you on a previous interview that men often grieve alone, that they will cry alone, versus as women, we want to grieve together and join with each other as women, you know, to express our emotions and grief. And so what I love that you're saying, Joanie, is that both have to matter. We have to create a safe haven within our home, within the relationship, so both individuals can grieve however they're grieving.
And it starts by asking questions. So when my husband and I would go through a crisis and he would respond differently than me, I might internally feel frustrated. Sometimes I would feel frustrated and just kind of go somewhere and vent my frustration, not at him. But then I'd go back and ask a question. Help me understand. For me, this is how I'm grieving, and it makes sense for me. I see you're grieving in a different way. Help me understand that. And what he would say to me is, I know if I start to actually talk about it, I'm going to lose it. And there are things that need to be done. And it's not so much that he wasn't going to allow himself time to grieve, but there were things that needed to be done. And then he was able to ask me, like, help me understand, because women can feel very overwhelming to men when they're in a crisis, if they're just kind of crying nonstop. I mean, you don't cry. They say that you cry for about 20 minutes and you stop, but it may go on kind of continually for several days, and that can be really hard for men. For a man to say to a woman, help me understand, how is this helping you? Because you seem miserable. And they don't understand that it's actually making us feel better, even though we look awful.
Yeah.
Never do you guys look awful. So it's such a great reminder, though. We do grieve very, very differently. I mean, that was one of the things that Erin and I, over the course of our 33 years of marriage, I mean, we've had to learn that and to value both ways, and to figure out how we connect as a couple within the differences of how we grieve. Another one of those just issues that involve differences that creates a lot of tension, conflict, is within the sexual relationship. How do you encourage couples to talk through the differences? And are there questions that you maybe would would encourage them to talk about, to really keep exploring those differences even sexually?
Yeah, I think I usually try to start with a little education that usually when couples are struggling with sex, it's because men very often use sex to manage their stress. Women need to be free from stress in order to have sex. So think about that. We
I was
miss
gonna
each
say,
other.
when would that ever be true, per
Well,
se?
and therein lies the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Therein lies the problem, that the woman is feeling unloved, she's feeling stressed. It may not even be that she's feeling stressed from her husband. It may be major
Right.
financial difficulties
Your
or something like
Kids, yeah.
kids.
or your children, the things
Yes.
going on. I can't make love to you because there's so much that I'm concerned with up here. And so
Which is,
women are needing that.
Guys might be better at compartmentalizing
Yes.
kind of the stress
Yes.
and whatever those issues are.
Now the men have the same children and they're feeling the same kind of stress, but they tend to use sex as a way to relieve their stress. And so number one, when couples understand that about one another, then they can be encouraged to have grace for each other. And it's that whole idea, almost like of seduction in a certain way, but a healthy kind of seduction.
Yeah.
And so I try to educate couples that there is that difference, and that's why we miss each other, and we've got to have empathy for each other and extend grace.
It's good.
And so, Joanie, one last question. How would you encourage any listeners that are struggling in their marriage? How do they develop an appreciation for their differences as well as rebuild that initial attraction that they had for each other?
Well, I think it does start with empathy, and it starts with really exploring your spouse and getting to know him or her better, because also we change as we grow.
Isn't that the truth?
Throughout our marriage.
Yeah.
Our marriage changes us, our kids change us, and so forth. So the things that maybe weren't a problem previously might be a problem now, and it's kind of good to say, hey, I've noticed this. It seems to be causing conflict. What do you think is going on? And have those discussions so that you can come together and talk more openly about it without all of the tension. I encourage people to do that during non-problem times,
Yes,
non-stress
so
times.
helpful.
Not when you're in the middle of an argument, but afterward to go, oh, that didn't go so well. Can we go out to dinner? Can we go out and talk about this and leave the stress at home? Often changing the environment is a good thing to do, to go to dinner or something.
Yeah.
Go for a walk. Also, it's really a good technique that if you think that some emotion might rise, go to a public place where you can have some privacy, but you're not going to yell at each other.
Escalate.
Right.
There are people out. Right.
Yes.
It's a really good
Yeah.
technique.
Maybe the
That's true.
library.
Yeah. Yes.
the library.
Yes. I know that story.
Where you're not allowed to talk. Yeah. That's
I really want to encourage couples out there that this is so common. I would venture to say, it's fair to say, every couple has one area of these, if not more. And if you find yourself that you're kind of hitting your head saying, what's the deal here? We have a wonderful life. There's no infidelity. There are no addictions. There's no mental illness or physical illness we're dealing with. What is wrong with us? We just can't seem to get along. To know that is ever so common. And marriage therapy can be very helpful for that. And I really encourage couples to think about that and to
Right.
work with a therapist who can help you understand what's going on and also help you to develop some new ways of talking with and connecting with each other.
Love it. Such
Yes.
great advice. Thank you for just the patience and taking the time to kind of walk us through the differences, because they're there. As
And
you
they
were talking,
impact.
I was thinking of so many examples in my own brain, just going, oh yeah, the other day, or oh yeah, I remember.
Are we going to have a talk
Oh,
later?
we are gonna that's all we're gonna do is talk.
We need to talk.
Yeah. So just thanks for the great information,
Yes.
just the encouragement and the hope. I mean, I love at the end of the day, you're really talking about we can do this, and there's such hope. And
You can.
Let's
And
educate
sometimes we need
ourselves.
to reach
Yeah,
out for
yeah.
support. Yeah. Thank you, Joanie,
You're
for being
welcome.
with us. We just love you to death.
Thank you so much. I love being here.
Joanie has so much wisdom and insight to offer.
Yeah,
and
she
she
does.
shares it so clearly and so easy. It's so easy to understand.
Yeah. And you and I have known this. We've talked
Right.
about it. We've written about it over the years. But it's just helpful, though, to be reminded of some of these big differences.
And I think in our culture today, so often we don't necessarily always acknowledge these differences. And I think some of them can become very stereotypical, the differences we notice. But it's important to go back to there are physiological differences between your brain and my brain.
Yeah. Like what? What are some, besides the ones that maybe Joanie talked about, what are some other ones that really stand out to you?
Well, women typically have a larger hippocampus. Did you know that?
I didn't. And you might have to explain what on
The
earth that means and why does it matter?
Is the brain's memory center with all the neural connections, with more neural connections. And essentially what this means for women is that we can often recall details, emotions, and conversations more vividly and with greater context than husbands.
So let me ask you this then. So how the fact that you can recall information
and emotions
more vividly than me, how does that show up practically? Like, what is that? What's an example?
So maybe this is more of a frustration for me than you. Because I wonder, how many times do I say, like, remember we talked about this?
All the time.
And then I'll say something like, remember we were standing right there in the kitchen and I had a blue dress on and I felt super sad about it. And how could you not remember? And I begin to take it personally that you don't remember. And so often you're like, we never had that conversation. I'm like, yes, we did.
Yeah.
But now you know that you can trust me because I have a bigger hippocampus than you.
Yes. So in fairness, I don't think that you're making that up.
Okay.
What I think happens is that I'm more reacting to going, I genuinely don't remember that. Why are you frustrated with me?
Because you have a smaller hippocampus. So now I can think
now you'll be less frustrated with me because you remember that?
Remember, your hippocampus isn't firing right now, so that's okay.
And again, I'm okay
but
with
I'm going to
that.
remind you of the conversation we had.
Yeah, I'm saying that I get frustrated because you get frustrated with the fact that I don't remember.
I don't have to get frustrated. I can gently remind you. Remember, we did have this conversation.
And I will say, okay, I believe it. Just don't be mad that I don't remember.
Okay. Moving on.
But this is good because this is a helpful reminder.
Yes.
Again, we've learned this stuff. We've been exposed to this stuff. It's just these are great reminders, and that's how you and your spouse can use what we're talking about. Well, I know that that a woman's brain, you typically have higher levels of oxytocin, which is kind of the bonding hormone.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
For sure.
So how would that impact then the relationship?
The fact that women have more oxytocin, actually it fosters women being more nurturing, empathic, and having that desire for connection.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's positive.
That makes sense. I love that men have 6.5 times more gray matter, which means that we have stronger concentration. Like I can really sit there and concentrate on whatever the task is at hand. And that can be a huge asset within our marriage.
Yes. Yeah. And I so appreciate that because so often I'm blipping off to the next thing and you're still focusing on the details that need to be completed. And I'm sure personality impacts that too. But it's interesting to know that you physiologically have a bent towards problem solving and sticking with it.
And really being able to concentrate. Well, even like when often we're prepping for this podcast, that I'm dialed in, I'm concentrating.
I benefit from your focus and
your
concentration.
Your phone will buzz, you grab that, you think of another question. Now we're talking about what we're going to have at dinner tonight.
Yes.
And so I've learned over time not to just shame you going, why can't you focus? Concentrate with me.
Sometimes
I'll just gently
you redirect me
back to what we need to
So
focus
another
on.
one, a man's brain is 10% larger than a woman's brain.
You're
and
welcome.
That doesn't mean that therefore a man is more intelligent.
Yeah.
It means that our brains are just different. Physiologically, again, I wonder then, does it mean that because your brain is larger that men's heads are bigger? As men age, their nose and their ears grows up because it's attached to their brain.
Oh, man.
I don't think that's physiologically correct, but that was funny.
It was funny. And it's probably why Jesus, when talking about marriage, said that this is a great mystery. Maybe it's one of those big mysteries. We mentioned that Joanie's part of our Hope Restored aftercare team. Mm-hmm. So Joanie talked a little bit about Hope Restored. We just want to underscore and kind of reinforce that Hope Restored is our marriage intensive for couples who are in crisis, who are on that brink of divorce. So last year, kind of 2024, almost 700 couples. That's so cool. 700 couples attended one of our marriage intensives, and really the statistics speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, 80% of the couples who were surveyed 2 years after attending Hope Restored are still together.
Yeah.
That's significant.
It really is.
And you think about over 14,000 couples have participated and attended Hope Restored.
Yeah.
It's such a great outreach, and it helps couples that are in crisis or couples that are stuck really find a new way forward.
Yeah, we have some of the best marriage therapists on the planet who are part of that program, and God's really using that. And we see miracles from that. So we'll go ahead and throw the link to Hope Restored in the show notes so you can learn more about that. If you have questions, it's going to help you answer that. You can speak to one of our staff members who fully understand Hope Restored and can answer any questions that you might have. So if you or maybe someone you know is going through a rough patch in their marriage, go ahead and share that link with them as a way to express that you're thinking about them, you're rooting for them, you're hoping that they're going to get to a different place in their marriage, and certainly that you're praying for them.
Mm-hmm. And we have a wonderful book that can help you really begin to understand your spouse's point of view. It's a book written by Dr. Walt and Barb Larimore called His Brain, Her Brain: How Divinely Designed Differences Can Strengthen Your Marriage. And we'd be happy to send that to you for a gift of any amount. Just check the show notes and you can get your copy.
All right, so we've been talking about just how we see things very differently. Talked about those differences in our brains. And so today's creative exercise is really going to challenge you.
We're going to give you something we call perception questions that you can ask each other, and you can also gain some insight about yourself. This is something that you can do on a date night or when the two of you are alone. Maybe after sex, when the oxytocin is surging, you can truly connect with each other emotionally.
Yeah.
And so as we look at these questions, there's 3 different categories: spouses' perceptions of themselves, perception of each other, and perception of the relationship. Because so often we're not aware of how we show up or how our spouse thinks we show up or what's going on in the relationship. It's just a great exercise to delve in to really understand each other more.
Yeah, so Erin and I are going to run through some of the questions that really stood out to us. We're going to go ahead and create a PDF of all these questions.
Great.
So we'll have that there in the show notes. You can download that and then use that with your spouse. Like you were saying, maybe even after sex. I hadn't really ever thought about using questions after that, but why not? We can always give that a try. So let's take that first category. So this is your spouse's perceptions of themselves. So Erin, I'm going to ask you one, and Erin and I have not rehearsed this. So this is just raw, right off the top of our brains.
Raw footage.
So Erin, how do you think that I see you? How might I describe you to someone? I know that's a very broad.
It is a broad question.
However you might answer that.
I have blondish brown hair and green eyes, but
Going a little deeper.
In all seriousness, I think you would say that I have a lot of energy, that I love to talk to people, that I love what I do. As a wife, a mom, a counselor. I don't know what else you would say. That would be interesting to hear how you would describe me.
Yeah, I would introduce you to someone who didn't know you is highlighting a lot of what you said. You have a deep faith. You're a prayer warrior. I think your prayers are some of the best prayers that I've ever heard, but I love that about you. Yeah, I'd certainly highlight how extroverted you are and that you love people, that you're one of the hardest working people that I know. You have this high capacity to get a lot accomplished through the day, and it overwhelms me. I just don't, that's not how I show up. And that's okay.
Yes, you do.
I mean, I
You
work
are a hard worker.
but I don't have the same capacity for the amount of work that you do and get done every day. It's very impressive.
So here's one for you. What do you love most about yourself?
I'm extremely handsome is probably what stands out first and foremost.
You
As
are
a trophy
handsome.
husband, that really stands out. I would say I enjoy my sense of humor. I don't know if you
laugh
always do.
at you.
I do. I think there's sometimes I go, that was really funny. Like, where did that come from? No, I enjoy laughter and I enjoy making people laugh. Like, I like how that feels. I think that's just a way to connect with people. And so that's probably one of my favorite attributes is I think I have a good sense of humor. So what about another category, perceptions of each other? What is something that I do that makes you feel truly seen and valued?
I would say, because of course this is totally on the spot, I would say that I feel valued when you thank me for something that I've done, or you just say, wow, I see how hard you're working. That helps me to feel like you really see me.
I like it. That's a great coaching way to encourage you and to validate kind of the season of life that you're in while you're in school, while you're working full time, while you're full-time mom and wife, all of that. So that's I like how you said that.
Yeah.
I will remember that.
Good.
Although my brain is wired to not really remember all those details, I will do my very best.
So here's one for you. What's one thing you wish I understood better about your stress or your emotions?
That when I'm stressed, there's just like this physiological desire to be alone, almost like go down into our basement and have some cave time just by myself. And it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with how much I love you and love being around you and want to connect with you. But there's times where I just want to be alone and do something to unwind and kind of manage that stress a little bit before we re-engage or try to connect as a couple.
And I was rereading the question because I was like, I think he knows I understand that's what he does. But what's helpful in that is to hear that it's not personal.
Right.
That it's not about me.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would be super helpful if I was to verbalize that.
Yes.
Which I don't always do that. I don't know if I ever do that. But it would be really good, I imagine, if I could just tell you, hey, I love you and I can't wait to connect, but I need to have a little bit of cave time here just to process through some stress of the day. But I'll tell you all about it here in a moment. Would that be helpful?
It'd be very helpful.
Okay. I will try to do that. All right. So our last category is perceptions then of the relationship. And Erin, I think one question as I read it that stood out is, what story do you tell yourself when we argue or when we're disconnected?
It's interesting because that story has changed over the years. And
in a better way?
Yes, because
Okay.
what I tell myself now is, it's okay. We're going to figure this out. We're going to come back and we're going to repair. And it's all going to be okay. We're actually going to grow closer because of this. I literally say that to myself.
That's good.
And it's helpful
That's good
because it
self-talk.
keeps me
Yeah.
regulated and hopeful that it's okay, that we're going to be okay.
It's good. Well, I appreciate that.
Yes.
Well, in a lot of ways, I mean, you're fighting then for our relationship and for me and for yourself.
Okay, here's one for you.
Okay.
How do you think our relationship has changed over time for better or worse?
I think it's definitely changed for the better because I think now that I'm more confident in us. I'm more relaxed around those moments to where we've had a hard interaction or something's happened that's hurt one of us. Like I don't worry that we're not going to get through that's somehow going to destroy us as a couple.
Right.
I have a lot of confidence in our ability to repair. I know you're the pursuer around that stuff, but I think I've grown a little bit better in going, I don't want to stay in that disconnected place.
Right.
I'm going to repair this And so just super confident around that. I know we got it. We'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Maybe in the moment it's, it's very discouraging or disheartening. Oh, we're disconnected. But I know that we will get through this. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right. And our conflict style has grown so much.
Yeah.
And over the years. And so that's a good thing.
I love having these kinds of conversations. You guys, there's so many more questions that are on the list. So again, this is a PDF. So jump onto the show notes. You can download these as you go on a date night or you're driving, or as Erin said, right after sex, you can then answer these. And please let us know how that goes. So especially the after sex part of it, we'd love to know how these conversations went for you. Maybe you thought of another question. Let us know. We'd love to include that because obviously, being in a marriage relationship, it's one of the hardest, but one of the most rewarding things on earth. And so we hope these ideas, even our conversations as we answered them, will help you and your spouse grow closer.
And we mean it when we say, if we can help you in any way, reach out to us.
Yeah.
And we really genuinely want you to reach out to us.
We do.
So our counseling team is ready to take your calls at 1-800, the letter A, family, FAMILY. And we have many other resources that we can refer you to. Just reach out. Again, the number is 1-800, the letter A, and the word family.
All right, well, let's move on to our weekly Q&A.
So today's question comes from an anonymous listener, and this is what she had to say. My husband has dealt with multiple addictions over the years. He's even gone to a rehab center, and he's returned home, but he continues lying about the addiction. And this is really upsetting to me. He says he wants to be loved and accepted and is really longing for that. But as a wife, I'm not sure how I can offer that because he has deceived me multiple times over and over again. I need your help.
Boy, we love the tough questions and just appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability. So I would say, Erin, first of all, it's really where we always try to start, which is, take a moment before you think about him or the relationship and really focus in on for you what's kind of under the waterline.
Yes.
Like this is obviously stirring up what for you?
Yeah.
It probably feels really insecure. Maybe he's marginalizing what he's doing. He's not being honest. He's withholding. There's some secrecy now around that. How does that make you feel?
Right.
At that deep level?
Yeah. Do you feel deceived? Does it feel unfair? Do you feel
Betrayed.
invalidated, betrayed? Do you feel alone? All of those are valid emotions. And as you really explore how is this landing inside of me, on my heart? What am I feeling? Then you can acknowledge that and really walk through exploring it.
Yeah. Because obviously when you guys go to have this conversation, it's just being honest, going, when you withhold, when you keep secrets from me, when you're not being forthright and sharing, this is the impact.
Right.
I feel so insecure within our relationship that it shuts me down and it's hard to move forward with you. And I feel like as we're making progress, that this undoes a lot of maybe the progress that we've made. Like this is a big deal for me.
Yes.
That as we walk this out together and I'm with you.
Yeah.
I want to say to you, I'm with you till the end. Within how we journey this out together, that I need to feel safe with you. And what that looks like is honesty. I mean, start to then unpack what does that mean for you to feel safe as you guys journey through his addiction and what he's really struggling with.
Right.
Because you can give grace. I mean, grace is a great thing to give, but you matter. So maybe you start off by saying, I want to talk about this, or I want to talk about something important. And I just ask that you give me an opportunity. And that's when you use the I statements and own that this is
I just
how I'm
need
feeling.
you to listen as I share about how this is impacting me, how I'm feeling, and then even switching roles and letting him share how is he feeling?
Yeah.
However, what I would say, we've talked about this before on the show, that there's times when an addiction continues, and even through treatment, that the individual returns to the addiction, that there's boundaries that are put in place.
Right.
And sometimes that might look like a healing separation. We have a PDF called The Healing Separation, and we'll put that in the show notes. And as well, getting support for you individually, that you really have a licensed Christian counselor that can walk with you, that you have a place that you can talk through this process of what do I need to feel safe and secure.
Yeah.
So seeking that support is important, as well as setting boundaries and having someone who can help you set those boundaries, because that's a hard one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. And especially if someone is a people pleaser or
Conflict avoider.
Yes, that this is tough. This is not easy. But when an addiction returns over and over again, if nothing changes for the individual or the family system, it's just very important for you to recognize, you kind of said it, that you matter too.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, what do you need to really feel safe and secure?
And that's a huge part of this. Mm-hmm. So we would really encourage you to think through what is it through this addiction, this process, this journey that we're on, that would help me to feel safe. And just give that some thought before you guys come together. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's one thing, maybe it's 10 things. Mm-hmm. The more understanding that you can provide to both yourself and to him increases the likelihood that will happen. Mm-hmm. And there's no clear formula. There's not a magic wand that we can tell you how to wave it. It just, you've got to identify, how do we create safety through this addiction recovery? Mm-hmm. And you possess the knowledge that you need as far as what's going to help you to feel safe. If you don't know, if you're going, man, that sounds great, guys, I have no idea what that looks like, go meet with a counselor. Mm-hmm. And we're just grateful for the question. What an important thing, because all of us are going to have these hard moments in our marriage that we need to think this through. And what does safety look like? Even if it's not an addiction, it's going to be something else that we're kind of managing as a couple. And so thinking about it in terms of safety is such an important part of this recovery process.
Totally. So thank you again for your question, and we'll be sending you a copy of our book, Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage.
Well, thank you for joining us on Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage.
Yes, thank you for following the show and sharing it with your friends and family. We want you to have a seat at the table every week as we help equip you and your spouse to have a lifelong, satisfying marriage.
Yeah, we want to see you guys growing spiritually as individuals and together as a couple,
so that you can invest in other couples to help them build thriving marriages.
Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you again next Monday about this crazy little thing called marriage.